Welcome to Dead Time Now, where time stops and horror begins. Put on your headphones, find a quiet corner, and turn off the lights. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story, it's a true nightmare.
Story 1: The Vanishing Woman of Room 6. It was the summer of 2014 when travelers began reporting strange events at a roadside motel in Nevada. The place wasn't famous, not even listed on most travel apps, but locals whispered about it. Room 6, in particular, carried a reputation, one that the motel staff avoided discussing. On July 17th, a 32-year-old woman, Claire Hudson, checked in. Security footage shows her walking into the room 9:46 p.m. carrying a single duffel bag. That was the last confirmed sighting of her. She never checked out, never collected her deposit, and most disturbingly, no one ever saw her leave. The motel manager claimed the room was empty the next morning, but guests staying nearby reported hearing muffled screams around 3 a.m., followed by the sound of something dragging along the floor. When police investigated, the bed sheets were gone, the carpet was wet, and the walls smelled faintly of bleach. Forensics found no trace of Claire, not even a single hair. Yet one officer, off the record, claimed that under ultraviolet light, the walls revealed large streaks of handprints, pressed deep into the plaster, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. To this day, Room 6 is still in use. Guests say they sometimes wake to the sound of heavy breathing beside their bed, only to find no one there. Some have even reported seeing a pale woman's face in the bathroom mirror, whispering, "Don't check in before you leave, lock your doors, keep your lights on, and subscribe to this channel, because next time, it might be you who disappears." Story 2: The Silent Passenger. In 2008, a taxi driver named Thomas Burke began working late-night shifts in Chicago. Most of his fares were ordinary, until one rainy November night, when he picked up a woman standing alone at an intersection. She wore an old-fashioned dress, soaked through from the store, and spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. She asked to be taken to an address on the city's outskirts. The ride was quiet to quiet. Thomas tried small talk, but the woman just stared out the window. When they arrived, he turned to tell her the fare. The back seat was empty. The door was still locked. Confused, he knocked on the door of the house. An elderly man answered and froze when Thomas described his passenger. The man explained that his daughter had died in a car accident exactly 12 years ago to the day. The crash had happened at the same intersection where Thomas picked her up. After that night, Thomas began avoiding that part of town. But the next month, another driver reported seeing the same woman. Sometimes she gets in the car, sometimes she just stands on the corner, staring at passing vehicles, always drenched, always silent. And if you're still here, remember the next time you look in your rearview mirror, you might not like who's sitting behind you. Subscribe now if you dare. Story 3: The House Where No One Stays. Twice in rural Pennsylvania, there's a rental property known to realtors as the Cutter House. It's a beautiful old Victorian home, surrounded by thick woods, and it's always available for an absurdly low price. The reason? Every single tenant has left within 2 weeks. In 1996, a family of 4 moved in. They lasted 12 days. The father claimed the walls whispered his name at night. His wife swore she saw a man's shadow moving in the kitchen even when no one was home. Their daughter was found sleepwalking in the basement, staring at the furnace, mumbling the words, "It's not done yet." No official records explain the property's history, but a local librarian says it once belonged to a butcher who went missing in the 1940s. Police found human remains buried behind the house, but not enough to account for all the missing persons in the area. Recent visitors report waking up with scratches on their arms and the distinct smell of raw meat lingering in the air. One man claims he heard heavy footsteps outside his locked bedroom door, followed by the sound of a blade being sharpened. The Cutter House still rents to this day, and the next time you're looking for a cheap place to stay, remember, the low price might cost you everything. Don't miss what's coming next. Subscribe because some stories aren't just stories, they're warnings. Story 4. The room they tried to erase in 1998. Deep in the rural outskirts of West Virginia, a small motel called The Pines became the center of a chilling mystery. The motel's owner, Harold Dyer, claimed that Room 6 had been closed for renovations for nearly a decade. But the truth was much darker. Travelers reported seeing lights flickering inside Room 6, shadows pacing back and forth, and even muffled voices in the dead of night. One couple, ignoring the "Do Not Enter" sign, forced the door open. The room looked wrong. The air was colder than outside. The wallpaper was torn, and the bed was pressed hard against the wall as if hiding something. The couple noticed a faint scraping sound from behind the bed. When they moved it, they discovered a narrow door. The smell hit them first, rotting wood mixed with something metallic. The room beyond was small, lined with chains bolted into the floor. Old Polaroids littered the ground, showing terrified faces of people no one recognized. By the time police arrived, the couple was gone. Their car was still in the parking lot, keys in the ignition. Harold Dyer was questioned, but no charges stuck. The motel was demolished in 2002. Locals say when you stand on the site where the Pines once stood, you can still hear scraping, like chains being dragged across concrete. You've opened the door, but can you close it? Subscribe if you dare and turn on the bell, so you'll hear the chains before they find you. Story 5. The girl in the phone booth. On a rainy night in 1985, a college student named Laura Preston vanished on her way back to her dorm in Portland, Oregon. The last confirmed sighting was at a gas station payphone, where she had stopped to call her roommate. The call lasted only 30 seconds. The roommate later told police that Laura's voice sounded rushed, almost panicked. Then she whispered, "He's watching me." The line went dead. Witnesses claimed that minutes later, a man in a long, soaked trench coat was seen standing by the booth, staring into the night. When police arrived, the booth's glass was shattered from the inside, the receiver dangling and swinging in the wind. No footprints, no tire tracks, nothing. A week later, Laura's parents began receiving phone calls from an unlisted number. When they answered, there was only static and in the background, the faint sound of rain, though the weather outside was clear. These calls continued for years, at random, always during the late night hours. To this day, the gas station no longer stands, but some drivers claim that when passing the empty lot during a downpour, they can see a flickering light and the silhouette of a young woman holding a phone mouthing the words, "Here, still here." Some calls you can't hang up on. Subscribe and ring the bell before he calls you next. Story 6. The last broadcast of station 104.6. In 1992, a small-town radio station in Minnesota, WZRT 104.6, went off the air permanently after a bizarre live broadcast that no one could explain. DJ Mark Halpern was hosting his usual late-night show when the audio suddenly became distorted. Listeners reported hearing a low hum, followed by a strange voice whispering in a language no one could identify. Halpern tried to cut to commercials, but the voice kept speaking louder each time. The chilling part: people calling the station to complain said the voice was repeating their full names and home addresses. One truck driver swore and recited the name of his daughter, who had died years earlier. After 12 minutes of this, the signal abruptly cut. Police arrived at the studio to find the equipment smashed, the windows shattered from the inside, and Mark Halpern gone. His car was still parked outside, engine running, headlights on. Weeks later, an unmarked cassette tape was mailed to the station's former manager. The tape contained nothing but that same hum and a voice saying, "We're still on air." No one has been able to trace where it came from. Local conspiracy theorists believe that if you tune your radio to 104.6 at exactly 3:15 a.m. on the anniversary of the incident, you can still hear that hum and your own name. You're already tuned in. Subscribe, hit the bell, and maybe you'll hear your name before they do.